Good morning. I'm so happy you could join us for our 2020 virtual Advent workshop. It's been so daunting to figure all this out, and we're hoping that you can get many great ideas. And I'm going to read from my notes a little bit, so you'll notice that I'm looking down. I'd love it if I could remember all I want to say, but I don't want to miss anything. So we want to make this Christmas a very memorable one, but in a good way. And we want to be able to make a beautiful keepsake journal that commemorates the coming of the Christ child. So I hope that you can get enough tips from this to enjoy this journal for years to come. And a journal is such a very good way to plan and to record your ideas and your goals for the season. And then you want to record your daily celebrations. So I suggest that you flip to the back of your pages of your journal and take a few pages that you would like to put some notes in. And if you hear anything on here that you want to be sure and remember, you might want to write those down. You might want to write notes later on when you study and when you figure out what you want to do, or to help you figure out actually what you want to do in your Advent journal. So take a minute to get your little folder out, and I will tell you that I've chosen a craft background or a craft journal for us to use because I found out that I love the background of craft. It's this is sort of a good neutral, and it also has a little tooth to it, so the glue sticks real well, and it has a nice feel to it. So last year I had made or 2 years ago I made a journal, and I covered every inch of that craft. Well, this year I decided that it would be better, from some other things that I saw online and on Instagram, to leave some space, leave some craft space, and to make that show. So that's just one of my favorite ways or my favorite art mediums is collage, and that's one of my favorite ways to use it is on the craft. So the first thing I did was tape a piece of parchment paper to my table. Now, you can use wax paper or something, because I want you to use plenty of glue, and so I don't want you to get your table all messed up with glue. So let's get started, and we will take your green folder. Now, my folder's not green, but it's the same thing that you have. So let me put this over here, and your first paper that you have on top is the ideas for Advent journal. At least I think this is in the same order as yours. If it's not, you can find it. And the idea page has some points and tips. Date each page beginning with Sunday, December the 1st, 2020, because that's when Advent starts. So you might use a Bible commentary, have a dictionary handy. And then you can underline and highlight the sections and the things that are important to remember. And you can add scripture references, prayers, quotes, poems, and carols. Add your own thoughts, add your own decisions. And you can use your glue, you can use colored paper, you can use colored pens and pencils, scissors, use old Christmas cards, old hymnals, and wrapping paper and ephemera, anything that's that you saved that you thought you might want to use sometime at Christmas, you may be able to use this time. So that's your ideas. That's a few ideas. The second page has some things that are just guidelines for layering and for doing collage. This is just something that I've come up with over the years, from books, from things that I've learned in classes, suggestions that might be helpful. And of course, it's just for your use. It's not written in stone. It's not the 10 Commandments. You can just do how you want to. The second page, or the third page, the next page coming up, is a couple of Christmas carols. They're both the same Christmas carol. They're just out of two different hymnals. So they are a little bit a different color. And so that makes it, easy to make a little bit different looks behind. And these are going to be things that you use in your journal or on your journal as background paper. Then this is another page of background paper. And these are just papers that I love and use so much in my backgrounds because they're so neutral. I use this one when I want to look light, and I use this one when I want a little more color a lot of times. And they work so well with this craft. So that's why I've chosen those. Another reason that they're printed on this is because they're not either one available anymore. So if you think you might want to use them a little bit, I've just gotten scraps that I've used. Actually, this one came from a garage sale, and never even seen this paper anywhere else. So this paper over here I cannot find. I would love to find it. But anyway, make copies ahead of time if you think you might want to use it for something else. And the same way with this, I put together what I call a master copy, and this master copy has all kinds of images from an old book that was written, well, it was printed a long time ago and not even in this country. But I cut out the images, and I've made a copy of that page so that you can cut those out again and use them as your images. So then there's half page here that's the same thing, and then there's a copy of another piece of scrapbook paper. So those are things that we'll be using on the outside, on the covers. And then this page has, I call it my word page, and it's just some words that I have stamped on here, and then some I did on the computer, and they will be things that we'll go through, and I'll show you a little bit later. So those are the pages and the order that we will be working. And then I will show you, let me look at my notes for a second, make sure I'm on point here. Oh yes, we show you, and I'm sure you've looked at the little journal already, and you've probably wondered what this is. It's a little envelope that's been cut apart. I'm going to fold that down there, see if I can make that stay. Okay, this little envelope has been, the top has been cut off, so we're going to be gluing this together a little bit later, and it will make a pocket for your journal. And your journal will have a place then for you to put this little red book that has come in your folder. And then I think this is going to be a wonderful little devotional for you to use in your time. I have also cut my instructions, or my, one of my idea pages out, so it can just be slipped in there. And you could also do any other things that you want to in there. This little journal also has another place in the back to put other things, so it's kind of handy. So we will get to that in a little bit. Let's do the cover first. I'm going to put this back over here. Okay, let's go to my next page, my cheat sheet. The next thing to do then would be to look in your little plastic bag. You may have already gone through it and looked at it and said, oh, what in the world is all this? So you'll have about 5 little tags, and we will talk about those little tags later. They can be used for Christmas ornaments on your tree, or they can be used as gift tags, or they can be used as gifts. So we will put those aside. And you have at least a red or a white poinsettia, little, and a little holly. And so those are things that we're going to use on the tags. You also have one little piece of ribbon, and that will be used on the tags too. And one piece of long ribbon, and we will use that on the outside to tie our journal together if you want to. If you don't want to use that on your journal, you can use it on your tags. You can use what you want to. I feel like I like my journal tied. It's a little bit less obvious that someone could just come along and look at it. It's a personal thing. I don't know. And I like the look of that bow on the front. So anyway, that's why I put a bow on, or put a ribbon on it. And then you'll have a glue stick. And so you can use that glue stick. And then you'll have, and you're probably wondering why we gave you these funny little sharp scissors. Keep your kids away from the scissors, of course. But they are very sharp and they are pointed. So they work very well on that page that has all these little cutouts. It's lots easier to use a small, sharp pair of scissors than it is to cut out with your large scissors. So you can have a pair of large scissors handy, but have those little ones handy too. So that's what that's all about. We're going to start next then and do some covering of our, we're going to collage the front of our cover, or the front of our journal, the cover of our journal. So I would like to do it, I think I can do it upside down. We'll see how that turns out. Kara is filming this, so she may have to tell me whether this is right or wrong, whether this is better. Okay, I'm going to fold this, make this cover lay down flat. And then I have already torn my Joy to the World pages, and so I would like to use probably the top part of that, and I'm going to show you how I do some of my tearing. Some of your tearing it can be very, well, a little more straight tearing, and a little straight edge is great for that. But it also then gives it a little bit of a softer edge than it does if you cut it. So I really like to combine the, cutting and tearing. On this side, I would like to cut that, but I'm going to go somewhere right along in here and cut. I'll bring my little book around here. You have a copy of that, so this will help me remember what I've done. So let's see, we're going to cut about this much off. And so many things are covered up eventually when you collage that sometimes you just have to, sometimes you're just going to lose a few things that you might wanted. So, but keep it on this page. And so as we go along, I need to take the top off that because it has a little bit of white at the top. So let's see, I think I'll tear that again. The good thing about the good thing about tearing with a straight edge is that you can tear a very small amount off. So that's going to go right there. What we'll do first is just place our stuff on the page, and then we will take it off and glue it. So here's my suggestion. After you place everything on the page, stop and make a little photo of it. And then that way you can have your phone handy with your photo, and you'll know exactly how you wanted to put it on the paper. So let's see, I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut this part. This may be a long video, y'all. You can always stop it and start it again. And we're going to cut our tear. I'm going to pretty much copy what I've done already, then I don't have to think so much. Just tear it off like that. Makes it a real organic look. And then, let's see, I will tear this. So keep your little pieces. You might want to use those on your tags. So we're going to do it that way. Maybe push that one in there. And then I'm going to just, I maybe should have already had this torn, but I think I can do it pretty fast. Try to keep your papers in as larger pieces as you're tearing so that you don't waste your paper. I think I'll cut this one. That's too small to keep. Have your wastebasket handy now. This is a little bit on the messy side. Not as bad as painting, but Okay, now somewhere along in there, I'm going to just tear organically again. Did you know that if you tear from one side to the next, if you tear from this side, you get white on this part. If you tear from this side, you get white on that part. Just a little FYI. So, depends on how much white you want. And so I will put that on there, and then I have already cut out my little pretty little owl. I used the snowy owl because I thought it looked more Christmassy, and I thought it was, I think he's very beautiful, and I think, you know, God made such beautiful creatures that would be a great way to put this on there. Okay, so I'm just going to, what I would do then is just play around. What I've done on here is use my, you want to put things one behind the other or one in front of the other, not butted up to each other, because then you can tell, the eye can tell which is first and which is last, which is in front and which is in behind. So I just kind of like that little play there. I think this tree needs to come up high so that he's not the same height. Put things varied heights, and that way you'll have a more pleasing look. And then, so I've used 3 little pieces here, you know, 1, 2, 3. 3 is always a good number, but this is just kind of an extra, so it will be up there. And then when you use if you want to use these words in front, use them on the top, the heaven and nature sing, I thought that would be a good way to commemorate what our Advent theme was. And so I have taken a little green pen and kind of gone around the edges. That's terrible. That's something you can do or you don't have to do. I've done the same thing with the word Adventus and journal. Adventus is an old word and means the same thing as a Advent or coming. So this is what you would do, and then maybe take your photo. I would need to move that up just a little bit, and be sure and put the date, put the year, put 2020 on there somewhere. And I just used a green pen for that. So take your photo and then go back and glue down. So we're just gonna pull these things off here. I don't think I'll have to do that. And as I'm not going to go through this whole process, but I am going to show you something about your glue. When you glue, you need to come all the way to the edge. So that's why I had you put wax paper or parchment paper or something to protect your page, your table. So go all the way to the edge. Try to cover everything about a couple of times, especially around the edges, a couple of times. And then that way things won't come apart. It's kind of disappointing sometimes when something decides to just fall apart on you, and I've had that happen. So I've learned to really not use an overabundance of glue, but to use enough. So let's cover this and really press it down. Really, each layer needs to be really pressed down. And if you have a small thing like your straight edge, or maybe the pair of scissors, you can use those edges. You can mash those edges down. And then if you see that you have something that's still sticking up, you can always go back and layer some more glue on. Just really make sure that that's on there. And then you're going to put this piece of paper on here. I think I did them opposite of what I had done a while ago. But I guess you have to keep all of this, you have to keep a spot in the center for your glue so that your images and your items don't fall in, or don't get in the glue. So anyway, and see, glue sticks make a mess sometimes. So just flick that off and have a spot, maybe have a wipey to put that on. So let's put this. I would leave about 1/3 of the top blank, And I wouldn't go all the way to the edge on this side. I went to the edge over here, but I don't think I will over here. So let's, there again, press it down real well. Now, here's the third part of our background. And it may not look exactly, but I think that's neat that the Joy to the World shows through. I used a different piece of music over here, and then it dawned on me, hey, let's use Joy to the World on that. So I always learn a lot as I do things. So every time I do a project, I learn. And every time I teach something, I learn more than anybody else. So I think that's neat. I'm gonna put that, like I say, right about in. So, and oh, I was going to leave Joy to the World showing. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Now I'll put my little owl on. Just be sure that you, and then put him somewhere along there. I have a little more. It's, you know, it doesn't always turn out the same, but you know what? It usually works because it's just sort of a trial and error thing. Oh, goodness. I forgot to put my tree under him. Okay, I'm going to lift him up with the edge of my scissors because he's still wet. And I say I am. You know what? Maybe we'll just do it this way. I hate to put him in front of that. Maybe we'll just tear this part of this off and it'll just look like he's behind there. How about that? Oh. I guess the tree needs to be right up and down. And then we have the little piece of paper that has, now that kind of gets tricky when you're cutting out some of these little pieces of paper with the small areas, you know, the pine and the pine cones and that stuff. So just take your time. And okay. Now, say we fixed him. I think he'll work just fine. But there again, press down and make sure that everything's done. And I think that I won't go ahead and finish that off because you get the idea. And I think that you can do it, the rest of it, you can finish the rest of it yourself. And you can put your journal somewhere here, maybe in that area, and then you'll still have a place to put the 2020. You'll put this little piece up in here somewhere, and then you'll have the rest of those to go right there. So I think that's a pretty good way to a pretty good start. And I will tell you another thing. I'll give you another little trick. At this point, if you will stop and maybe if you don't want to do this all at once, or if you do want to do it all at once, you can, after you get done, you can put it under a large book, and a large book will help all of this to stick down, plus it will hold your book down together. And so now we're going to do the little envelope as a pocket. So take your little envelope out that way I talked about a while ago. I think you can figure that out because it's kind of this funny little shape right here. And over on the side where it already has glue, put glue on that, and then go around about 1/4 of an inch all the way around 3 sides, leaving the cut top open. And so that will, and then go ahead and put glue on the entire back and all around on this other side on this side. So hope that makes sense. I think you can figure that out. And let's see, make sure I'm right side up. And I usually just kind of put it somewhere along in here. Now, there's another little trick that I'm going to show you. I want you to take your red book at this point and slide it in there before your glue is all dry. Well, fiddlesticks. Can't get it open. Oh, no wonder I have it upside down. Okie doke. There we go. This glue takes a few minutes to dry, so you have a little bit of time when you have something like that happen. So, ooch your little Joy to the World book in there, and so that it sticks in. And then, see, if you'll notice, the sides come up just a hair, but that's okay, because that will, as long as you have this part of it, the back part of it glue, have plenty of glue there, it will work just fine. So let's put our little book back in there. I just want to make sure you don't want to make this little pocket and then not have room for it to be used. So then we're going to go ahead and do some things on the inside on the pocket. And I think you can just do that on your own. I don't think you need me. You can cut out whatever you want. There's no point in you worrying about whether it's exactly like mine. I think you can do, you'll have plenty of different images of the deer, the Canadian geese, and they're flying there. So I think you'll have a lot. And then I've just used a little piece of that other paper on there. So I really feel like those are things that you can do on your own. I will go ahead and put the ribbon on the back of this one. So I like to put it where I put it on there so that it kind of doesn't cover up what something that I really want to show on the front. So if I have my, well, let's see. Let me put my journal word on there so that I can make sure that I don't cover it up. Let's see, where do I want that? And then, so that shows, and then the word Adventus, let's put it above there so that you can see it. Oops. I don't like to line things up perfectly. I like for them to be just a little bit off center sometimes. And if you'll look, I was doing this upside down, and my little owl is a little bit cockeyed, but he's just looking up, maybe. Okay. So what I'll do then is put the ribbon down on the page, on the table, and then tie it, or just pull it around like this so that I can tell where I want it. So I think that's a good place. Maybe just a little bit below center. And then just take your ribbon and, let's see. Take your ribbon and use a piece, I'll use a pencil or a pen, and just kind of mark where you're going to put it. Might be just the top of it. Oops, let's get that on there. And take somewhere around the center. It doesn't have to be totally centered because your ribbon is going to change when you tie it anyway. So just put your glue on there. You don't have to come all the way to the edge with the glue, but then you can cover up your little marks right there. This looks like and sometimes ribbon takes a little bit longer to dry, so you'll need to give that a few minutes to dry before you do anything with it. So you can set it aside, and then you can cover it like I've covered the back of this, or you can leave it blank. You can leave it plain like that. So that's the idea on the journal. Let me see if I've told you any, or left anything out that I had, you can cut or you can tear your backgrounds. You can arrange your backgrounds however you want them. You can add or you can subtract. But you don't want it to look too cluttered. You know, you want to see the trees for the forest and you want to see the forest for the trees. I don't know how that goes. Anyway, this is a good place, again, to make sure that all your glue is down. So we've made our pocket and we've attached our ribbon. So let's work on a tag or let's show you how to do a tag for a little bit. I think you can do the same process. You can take some of these little pieces like I've cut out here. You can leave things kind of cut together. You can cut off the side over here, or you can wrap it around. You can do a lot of things. You have also a page that, I think you have a page that shows you exactly what you can do with those. But what I want to show you is how to do your ribbon, because your ribbon is just a little bit, that's sometimes a little bit harder. Some of you have wider ribbon, and if you have the ribbon, just sort of fold it maybe somewhere in half, not really totally in half, because see, it's kind of fun to leave them uneven. But fold it in half and then in half again, and go from the back to the front so that you have this little V here. And if you do that, you can pull it on through quite a bit and push your ribbon in. And then as you pull it up, just carefully, not tearing something, but tug it enough and tug each one kind of separately. And that way, you get that little ribbon. It's a little tricky sometimes. If you don't get it perfect, of course it's okay. So you're just fine that way. Alrighty, so I think we've got that part done. I want to give you a few more tips. I have some tips on how to use this Advent journal material that Leslie gave you. Leslie gave you a red folder. Let me get a few of these things out of the way so that you can see. Okay, I have some ideas for using this material from the red folder. You have a green page that says Advent prayer for the Lord's coming, and I think, or the Lord to come. I think this is a wonderful little prayer, and we found it online in several places, and people have used it. It's by Renee Swope. And so I feel like if you wanted to do something really special in the very front of your journal, it would be neat to copy that prayer on your first page, because that would give you the essence of the journal right there on the first page, and I think that would be a good idea. Then you can look up, let's see, I'm on the wrong page. No, I'm not. You can look up those online resources that are on this color part. We have copied off several of the online resources here, and so you have things like, let's see, that's the back. We have things like things about angels, things about the New Testament, things about the Old Testament, things about Mary and Elizabeth, and the lighting of the candles. And in every one of these, so she's given you the resource for that. So if you look those resources up, you might find something different. You might find something that you really would enjoy. Now, you can take this page, this part that has the I believe, and then the 18 Bible verses for Advent. And you can use these as verses to copy into your journal. And then I thought, as pretty as these pictures are, you might want to tear out or cut out some of these pictures and use parts of them as some beautiful things to put in your journal. And then on the 15 Bible verses about the second coming, this was something that I really hadn't thought about much until this year, and I found out that many of the early Christians only used or only focused on the second coming of Jesus as their Advent then of course they didn't celebrate Christmas at that time, so they would have an Advent celebration about the second coming of Jesus. And so I think that that would be fitting to use too. Maybe one, the first coming on a page, and then the next page have the second coming, or just alternate that way, or have a whole section of one and a whole section of the other. I just think that would be really good. So I think I'm through. I have given you some things to hopefully help you to use your materials that we've given you in these folders. And I hope that you enjoy making your Advent journal. I pray that you'll just have a wonderful Christmas. And I just pray that all the things that are happening in the world will just take second seat, and that Christmas this year will be even more special than it's ever been. Thank you.